Today we're talking about LinkedIn, so we have got quite a few different areas to cover. Our agenda looks a little bit like this. I'm going to begin by taking you through the LinkedIn platform. So we're going to start by looking at how popular the LinkedIn platform is, also the number of users in the UK and the age and gender breakdown of those users. Then we're going to look at the platform itself, understanding how the newsfeed works, how you can optimize your own personal profile, how to set up a corporate page, understanding LinkedIn events. They're relatively new within the last 12 months. Also LinkedIn live streaming, which is a new feature, LinkedIn stories, and then we're going to focus on how to build and develop your network using LinkedIn. As I mentioned, I am open to questions throughout, so if you do have any questions, please type them within the chat box and we'll make sure that we answer all of those questions towards the end of the session. So as we're going through, you'll probably see a little questions. Here it is, the little questions slide, and that's a reminder just to submit any questions that you have about that section. Okay, so for any of you that I haven't had the chance to work with before, I'll just give you a little introduction about the work that I do. So I'm the owner of Digital by Emma, and I'm also the commercial director of Alchemy Digital Training. And Alchemy Digital Training was established over 14 months ago, and we focus on digital marketing training. So the work that I do is consumed by digital, and that's either in the capacity of a digital consultant, mentor, or trainer. But in short, what I do day in, day out is I work with a range of businesses, from startups to SMEs, larger brands and agencies across Northern Ireland, the Republic of Ireland, right across the UK and throughout Europe. And we could be working on digital strategy solutions, social media, content marketing, email marketing, influencer marketing, to name just a few. So as you can imagine, it is very varied. But definitely a highlight of my career has been the opportunity to work with Google and Facebook, and one of those came along via LinkedIn. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about that in just a minute. But I'm currently working with Google on 4 of their digital programs. So just today I had a workshop with an energy company in Italy. So Zoom certainly has its pros and its cons. The pro is that we could still do the workshop. The con was that I didn't get to travel to Italy to do the workshop. So we have to give and take in the current pandemic. But the great thing about getting to work with these global brands is that I've got access to the latest insights and research, and can then translate that into the work that I'm doing with my clients through Digital by Emma and Alchemy. Okay, so I'm going to focus more now on the LinkedIn content itself. You're obviously all here to find out more about LinkedIn, to improve your presence on LinkedIn, to understand more about the platform. So it's definitely a platform that is worth investing in. Here we can see the most used social media platforms in the UK. And this is relatively recent research. It was taken in January 2021. Now, I use a couple of these slides throughout, and on the bottom right-hand corner, you can see where that data has come from. It's been taken from a report, and that report was commissioned by social media agency We Are Social in partnership with the social media scheduling tool Hootsuite. And the report is called Digital in 2021. And the great thing about this is that it is published annually. Now, because 2020 was a little bit crazy, to say the least, there were actually 3 reports commissioned throughout 2020. So you had the January report, you then had an April snapshot, the same for July, October, and then now we have our January 21. So if you are putting together a social media strategy or a digital marketing strategy, this is one resource that I really highly recommend. However, I haven't included lots of snapshots just where it is relevant. And I thought this was really relevant because it goes to show us the popularity of LinkedIn within the UK. So here we can see that LinkedIn is the 7th most popular social media platform, and it comes behind YouTube, Facebook, WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, which here is actually counted as a separate platform from Facebook, and Twitter. So in number 7, we have got LinkedIn, and 28.6% of internet users aged 16 to 64 in the UK have used LinkedIn within the past month. Okay, so we can see that that's nearly a third of social media users, but what does that actually equate to in terms of numbers? So here we can see that in the UK, there are over there's exactly 30 million LinkedIn users, which I'm sure you will agree is a really sizable audience. But the reason why I said just a moment ago that it is a really good platform to be investing in is because there is a lot of growth with LinkedIn. So we know here that based on the difference from the last quarter, so that quarter-on-quarter change, there has been a 3.4% growth in LinkedIn's advertising reach, and that's the number of individuals using the platform. Now that equates to 1 million people, so it's definitely a sizable growth, and the pandemic has actually contributed to the growth in LinkedIn. So whereas previously we might have had some riveting water cooler conversations, we were able to stay connected with our colleagues within the office environment. For many of us, that has changed significantly as a result of the COVID pandemic. And therefore, we are turning to social media platforms and digital tools in order to stay connected. And that's just one of the reasons why LinkedIn has experienced that growth. Other things we can see from this data, there is a slight male bias when we looked at LinkedIn as a platform. 57.1% of users are male, 42.9% are female, but that's certainly not enough for us to label it as a male-based platform. That difference doesn't considerably tip the scales. And if we look a little bit closer in terms of age breakdown, we can see that the majority of LinkedIn users are 25 to 34 years of age. And here there is a slight increase in the number of male users. So when we think about LinkedIn, it does make sense that a lot of 25 to 34-year-olds are using it because that slightly younger audience is the audience who has grown up with social media. They have adapted to it. A lot of the younger audience, say from 25 to 30, are really au fait with social media. So when they graduate from college or they move through their second level education, it's a natural progression for them. It's not to say that there aren't people over 35 on the platform. There absolutely are. But when we look at the age breakdown, it's quite noticeable how there is that bulk of activity between 25 to 34-year-old users. Now, that's not to say that it will stay like this forever. As the platform grows, we will see more users aged 35 onwards joining the platform. It's important to recognize that the younger users are normally the innovators. And then as the platform grows, you have slightly older people. And I feel really weird saying slightly older when we're talking about 35, because that's so young. But in the context of what we're seeing here, you can understand what I mean. Hopefully now you have an idea of how many people are using the platform, the growth of the platform, the gender breakdown and the age breakdown, and we can then move into understanding more functions and features from the LinkedIn platform itself. Okay, so one of the first areas that I'm going to focus on is LinkedIn content. So LinkedIn is a social media profile. It is different to Facebook and Twitter and Pinterest and Instagram because it has got that more commercial or professional focus. However, there are a number of very similar features, and one of those is the newsfeed. So let's start off with the newsfeed. Here is a screenshot of the LinkedIn newsfeed as of probably about 1 hour ago. And when you are accessing LinkedIn. Now for the screenshots I've provided, they are provided on desktop, and I'm going to screen share with you today. on desktop because it's easy for me to show you the different functionalities. But I also want to point out that the LinkedIn mobile app is a really fantastic tool for staying connected with LinkedIn. So more often than not, during the day, I access LinkedIn via the app, and then I check in once in the morning, possibly once in the evening time before I log off on the desktop. But when we look at the home screen experience, on the left-hand side, we have the summary of my profile. So it's reminding me who I am. Underneath that, my corporate pages. And then into the middle column is where we have the bulk of information. So with this is where I can see posts from people that I'm connected to or posts from people in my wider network. And I'm going to delve onto the LinkedIn platform in just a moment and show you how that works. But before I do that, I just want to also highlight what we can see on the very right-hand side. On the right-hand side, we're getting LinkedIn News. And this is a feature that has been brought to the fore. And this is where LinkedIn is recommending content for me based on the content that I engage with on the platform and the content that I create. So here we can see articles about trust in technology, office return, workations, emojis, etc. And these are just some articles. Some of them have been published as recently as 3 hours ago. Others were 6 days ago. But this is where LinkedIn is suggesting news to me that it feels I'll be interested in. Then underneath that, still on the right-hand side, we have courses, and that is a feature of my LinkedIn Premium subscription. And I'm going to talk to you about that today. And underneath that, we have an ad, because remember, there are lots of advertising opportunities available for advertisers, for brands to get their message in front of a potential audience. So I think the best way of showing you content is to delve onto the platform and talk through what is going to appear, what's going to come up there. Now, I'm just going to refresh LinkedIn live. I don't know what's going to come up. Normally it's all really good, but if you see me quickly scroll past something and you see me going at pace, just don't ask to revisit that. But disclaimer, for the most part, I'm not connected to anything that's too radical on there. Okay, so I'm going to come across into LinkedIn. I will do a refresh. So hopefully you can see my newsfeed here, and we can see that the very first post is actually a video, and this is Matt. I don't personally know Matt, so it's great that Matt has got the little intro on the video. But the reason why I'm seeing the video of Matt is because somebody that I am connected with, Sabrina Donnelly, so she's my first degree connection. Sabrina's interacted with this post, and Amy is the person who put up this post. And because one of my connections has interacted with it, it's now being brought into my newsfeed. So the great opportunity in LinkedIn is that your content can go a lot further beyond your first degree connections. So I've never worked with Amy Woods. I'm not sure who she is. So hopefully she doesn't mind being featured as part of our LinkedIn training today. But Amy is a second degree connection. And what that means is that we have shared connections in common. And I can see here that there are 6 shared connections. So whilst we've never interacted directly, I'm getting to see Amy's post because someone who I am directly connected with has liked that. So there's a lot of power in getting your content on LinkedIn, and that's why I started with the newsfeed. It's important that you're getting that level of visibility. So as I start to scroll down through my newsfeed, I see posts from people that I am connected to, or posts from people who are connected to others that I'm connected to. And of course, we have ads. So the second post will always be an ad, but I think for LinkedIn, it's really intuitive how the advertising is shown because it does just look like a post. And the reason why we know it's an ad is because it says underneath here, promoted. But I do like the advertising formats on LinkedIn because they don't feel overly promotional or too invasive with my LinkedIn newsfeed experience. Okay, so here we have another great example of content coming into my newsfeed, even though I'm not following that organization or I'm not connected with the person who shared it. So here's another example where Dave, who is my first degree connection, has shared a post from Joe, and Joe has shared the post from Culture, from the organisation in the Republic of Ireland. Now this one here is a video, so it obviously autoplays, which is really great because I didn't have to interact with that. So you can see the power of video. Like, it is turned off in terms of audio by default, and we can see there are subtitles, which is also really helpful. But that's how content can start to capture people's attention straight away. So with any piece of content, we have a number of reactions to choose from. We can like that post, and you'll notice that when we hover over the like, we have a number of different reactions, not dissimilar to what we see on Facebook. So we have the ability to like, celebrate, support, love, insightful, or curious. So if you find a piece of content that you thought was really insightful, you can react accordingly to that. In addition to our reactions, you have the ability to comment. So quite simply, you can comment underneath. And you can also include a visual element within this. So if I wanted to go in and include an image, I can do so with my post. So just by way of demonstration, I can include an image in my response. And this is going to be a bit random, so I'm not actually going to go ahead and post it, but you can see just how easy that is. The other reaction we have to choose from is share. So I can then share the post itself, and I can share that on my profile. And I can also share that on a corporate page that I manage. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about corporate pages throughout today's training session. And I'm just going to move that out of the way. And my fourth option is to send this via a direct message. So if you come across a post that you want to send directly to another LinkedIn user and you don't want that to be public, you can send it via message. So you can see here that the newsfeed provides you with the latest information. It's where we can see what's going on in our industry. It's where we can find out about events. It's where we can find news articles. It's where we can get updates from those that we are connected with. And we have the ability to interact with that accordingly. So it's important that as a LinkedIn user, you are creating content that people can see within their newsfeed. So conveniently, the ability to create content is at the very top of your newsfeed. So up here, I can start a post, and you'll notice we have the ability to add a photograph, a video, create an event, or write an article. If I want to start a post, I can quite simply click in and add my text here. If I want to tag another organization, I can do that by using the @ symbol and then typing the name of that organization. And then this drop-down box should appear. And once I click on it, it will be highlighted in bold. And that's how I know it has been tagged. That also applies if I want to tag a colleague. And the same functionality will appear where they're highlighted in bold. Now, to support my post, I can add an image or I can add a video. So just similar to what we saw a moment ago, if I wanted to bring in an image from my device, I can do that. And the other thing I can do is I can actually tag somebody within the image itself. So if I wanted to tag someone that was featured within the image, I can click in and tag them, not dissimilarly to that process where you tag a photograph on Facebook. There's one other activity we can do when we're uploading this image, and here we have the ability to add alternative text. And here is where I can describe what is in the photograph, and I have 120 characters to do that. Now, the benefits of this are multifaceted. Number one, adding alternative text makes it more accessible and user-friendly. So if people are using LinkedIn with the help of visual readers, they will get to see what the alt text is for that image. So it's just a really great protocol to follow. And the other opportunity is that it is a chance to include keywords about what is in your photo. So here I might do mobile photography outside. But it is that opportunity to include keywords. Now you have 120 characters, so hopefully that gives you enough room to say what you want to say. And then that's saved in the back end of the photograph. So once you've added your photo, you can just press done. That will be brought through into the post itself. So we can see that Catherine's tagged in this. And we can see that the alt text doesn't appear in the front end. But there's another feature that we can choose that will appear on the front end, and that's adding our hashtags. So quite often when we're running digital marketing training, people ask, what is the point in hashtags? Do I need to use them? Are they a fad? How do I use them? And what I would say is that hashtags are now used like keywords. They previously had a lot of value in Instagram. They are now getting used on Facebook. We use them on Twitter, and they have a lot of value on LinkedIn. So I would encourage you to add hashtags to every single post that you post on LinkedIn, and look how much LinkedIn is prompting us to do that. At the very bottom of the screen, it's saying add hashtag, and it's actually done some work by analysing the content that I normally post about and presenting to me popular hashtags. Now, I know at this moment in time, my post doesn't really make sense because I've just been typing lots of random things, showing you guys what to do. But when you add the content of your post, you will see then personalised hashtag suggestions off the back of that, but also suggestions that are relevant to the content that you create and the content that you interact with. So now we have text, we've tagged organisations and people in our post. We've included an image and tagged colleagues in our image. We've added our alt text, and we've included our hashtags. The only one other opportunity that we have is to decide who gets to see our content on LinkedIn. So here we have got 4 different opportunities. One is anyone on or off LinkedIn. The second one is anyone on or off LinkedIn, as well as posting to Twitter. So this is where it can cross-post to Twitter. It's not something I commonly do, but it is an option. The third option is to let our connections only see that update, so only people that I'm connected to on LinkedIn can see that, or I can post it so only group members are able to see that, and that would be where I select a group that I'm a member of. So we do have different levels of visibility, but my recommendation would be, if you are creating content on LinkedIn, to make that public, because you want as many people as possible to see that content, because it's your chance to connect. It's your chance to get your message out there into the LinkedIn atmosphere. So I'm going to keep it as anyone on or off LinkedIn. Okay, so now that we've put our post together, the only thing left to do is to publish our post. Now, unfortunately, at this moment in time, there is no scheduling feature within LinkedIn itself. However, you can use Hootsuite, for example. Hootsuite, you might recall, was one of the publishers of the Digital in 2021 study that I showed you a few minutes ago. Hootsuite is a third-party social media scheduling tool, and you can connect that into your LinkedIn, and it allows you to schedule your posts in advance to both your newsfeed and to a corporate page. So if you wanted to line up your content strategically, you absolutely can do that through Hootsuite. But once we're in the LinkedIn platform itself, that opportunity isn't there. I don't know if it's coming down the line. I'd love to see it happening. We've seen it roll out on Twitter, but it's not here just yet. So this will be posted in lifetime. Okay, so for lots of reasons, I'm not actually going to post this, but that would be the last step. And therefore, your post would then appear within the newsfeed. Okay, so here we've covered the main source of content, how to create a post. But here we also can see we have the ability to create an event and to write an article. I'm going to focus on writing an article first of all. So if I wanted to create content that was more impactful than just having it as a post, and if I wanted a longer form piece of content, I can create an article, which is almost like creating a blog post within LinkedIn. So here we see a blank template, and we have the ability to add a cover photograph. So this is something you absolutely should do. It should be representative of the article that you're creating. So again, all I'm going to have to do here is upload an image that relates to what my post is about. So here we have one of a group of people, laptop. So I'm going to bring that in. Just thinking about it. Yep, it's going to roll with it. So this is my article cover image. And then underneath is my chance to include my headline. Okay, so what we really want to do is to create an attention-grabbing headline. So something that will capture people's attention if they see the article being shared in their newsfeed, and something that intrigues the viewer to click in and read it. So popular headlines include questions, top tips too, and controversial statements, but it does depend on the content that you're creating and what an appropriate headline would be for that. Once you've added your headline, then underneath is where you can add the main body of your article. So within this, you have got editing features. So for example, you can make some of your words bold. So if you wanted to add bold headings, if you wanted to include quotes in italics, if you wanted to underline links, etc., you absolutely can do that. And if you did want to hyperlink any of the words within your article, you have your hyperlink icon here along the top, and then you have your text to display, and there is a field where you can pop in the link itself. So when you are creating content here within your article, it is typically a lot longer than what you would create within a post. So it's a good idea to create unique organic content. So this is articles that sit on LinkedIn, that are featured on LinkedIn, and you can share that across your LinkedIn profile. And what some other people do is they take blogs or articles that are already in existence on their website, and they share a summary of that in this article format. And at the very bottom, they have a link which says, if you'd like to read the article in full or to see the next 5 steps, you can click here to my website. And that way, people who are engaging with the article can then be brought across to the website to read that in more detail. So all of this is possible. It's up to you how you want to use that functionality. But it's a really great opportunity. It's all free. There's no cost in doing this. So a lot of people are not even aware that the article function exists. And you can add a lot more detail and a lot more content. Okay, so hopefully you'll agree that that's really straightforward. I'm just going to come back to our main home feed, our news feed, to show you one other element that we haven't yet talked about, and that is our event. So LinkedIn events were added within the last 12 months, and they are working really well so far. So if you have an upcoming event, I would definitely encourage you to create it as a LinkedIn event. If you've ever used Facebook events, they're not dissimilar to that. So here we can see a new light box appears, and it says create event. We can add our cover photograph. We can also add our event main image, which could be your profile picture, for example. We can then choose the organizer. This is your company. So you will be creating events, for example, on behalf of your organization. You need to have your corporate page in the background, and I'm going to show you how to set that up. And then from here, we quite simply fill in the details required. So here we will put in the event name, the time zone, because remember, you can reach people right across the globe through LinkedIn, your start date and start time, end date and end time, and then your description. Now you have got 5,000 characters for your description, so you are able to share quite a lot of detail here in your event. And you can also highlight then your speakers. So if you wanted to pull in your connections as the speakers, You can do that and tag them within the event. So people will be able to click through and view their profile because they've been associated with your event. Other options include visibility. So you can have it as a public event or a private event. If you want to, you can use a LinkedIn registration form. And this is where people actually register for the event through LinkedIn itself. Or you can take people to a registration or broadcast link. So if you were using a platform like Zoom, you can include the link to Zoom, and therefore people will click through to that in order to sign up. So that's really straightforward. That's the bulk of the information that you're going to need to create an event. Now, you might have seen events popping up on your LinkedIn profile, on your home feed. But if you want to see where all of the upcoming events are, the easiest way to find them is to go to your network. And within here, not only do you see people who have reached out to connect with you, you also get to see online events. And these again are being presented to you based on the groups that you're a part of, the people that you're connected to, the kind of content that you already engage with. So if I click in here to see all, I'm getting presented a lot of events about marketing, women in tech, Northern Ireland social media, and public speaking. What else have we got? FinTech, etc. Now, there's always going to be a few random ones in the mix as well. But if you are looking to broaden your horizon and gain some new skills, why not check out the LinkedIn events that are coming up? So the Irish Startup Conference looks particularly interesting. If I wanted to find out more about that, I can click in, view this event. You get to see their cover image, their logo. I can see if any of my connections have already registered for that. And here I get to see the detail. Now remember, you have the 5,000 characters. So these guys have used it really well. They've included their agenda, so I can see who's speaking and also the organization that they represent. Also, their speakers are tagged. So if I wanted to find out more about any one of those people, I can click into their profile. And if I want to join up here, I can click attend. So I think you'll agree that it's really straightforward to set up your LinkedIn events. It's a really great way of getting the word out there about your upcoming events. And again, like everything we've looked at already, it's free to use. Okay, so I'm going to come back into the content. As I mentioned before, we have got a presentation from today's training session that I will share with you. So I've tried to make sure that I've screenshotted all the appropriate steps. So here's just a recap. I encourage you to showcase your knowledge through status updates by posting on your LinkedIn. And here, for example, is a post that I shared last week. So the guys at Blick, obviously, were promoting next week's event, this is. So I was able to share that post, tag them in it, and add more detail behind that. So therefore, that was content that was coming into my connections newsfeeds. And I would also say you can be creating content about articles that you have read or come across that are of interest to you, updates about what you're working on and the progress you've made there, updates about upcoming events, and even things that you've taken part of. So there's an opportunity to go onto LinkedIn and post about taking part in today's training session and maybe sharing one new thing that you've learned about LinkedIn that you didn't know previously, because you can then understand the impact of that post within your network. Okay, so by way of a recap, very easy to create a post. We do that from the top of the screen. And here we have a number of different options that you can include, as well as choosing the visibility. Articles as well, our framework for articles and the information that we can fill in there. And I just wanted to share with you something that I saw recently that I thought was really, really smart when it came to getting engagement on LinkedIn. So I've only seen a few examples of this, but Gymshark did it brilliantly. It was very much of the moment. And so they have created an image, a graphic here that asks, who are you on Zoom? Because let's face it, we've been Zooming for a year already. Even though they're really valuable, some of us are starting to feel that Zoom fatigue. So we can relate to that and have some fun with it. But what they've done is they've built their graphic around the LinkedIn reactions. So who do you identify yourself as? The one with the cute pets and the cats and dogs and puppies and kittens that keep popping their noses up to say hello. If that's you, it's a thumbs up. The one on mute, and you're always being reminded to unmute. That's the celebrate icon for that. The one with all the snacks, the prepared one who's snacking throughout the day. You can react to that with the support icon. The fancy one with the new backgrounds, that's the love icon. The obsessed tech person with multiple screens, or the one who looks like a DJ with the massive headphones. I've been there. It wasn't a good look. They were so uncomfortable as well, so they quickly got ditched. But we can see that this is interesting content. It's entertaining content. It's very topical. So that's going to get my attention. And quickly, I'm going to say, which one am I? Probably the one with all the snacks. That's most likely to be me, and that's going to get a support reaction. So even though I don't follow the Gymshark brand, you can see that the call to action to follow is still up at the top right hand corner. I'm interacting with this content because it's got my attention and it's really easy for me to respond. Other pieces of content that's really, really easy for you to create would be the likes of creating polls. Polls are fantastic for research. So if you did want to do some low-level customer research, audience research, you can create a poll and get people to vote for their option. So LinkedIn created a poll just trying to sense out what's the best email sign-off. Sincerely, thanks, no sign-off, or best wishes and warm regards. Here, thanks came out on top. And that's as a culmination of 55,000 votes. So I've actually included a link to some recommendations on creating polls. So some ideas on how to do that, and you can replicate that within your own content. Okay, I want to share with you something that is new in terms of LinkedIn content, and currently it's only available on the mobile app. So this is another reason why I use the app throughout the day. This is, unsurprisingly, LinkedIn Stories. It was really just a matter of time until LinkedIn created a Stories feature, but here it is in all its glory. So LinkedIn Stories was introduced in the UK within the last 12 months, and it's starting to become a lot more commonplace. It works really similarly to what we see on Instagram stories and Facebook stories. So if you've used either of those, it will be really intuitive to create your LinkedIn Stories content. Again, similar to Facebook and Instagram, when you come into the app, you see stories along the very top. So if you do happen to have your phone at hand, open your LinkedIn app, have a look along the top, and you should see the little circles representing the people that you're connected to that have created stories content. When you create a story, it's a vertical full screen experience. You can take a photograph on your phone and upload that as a story. You can choose an image from your camera library. You can also use a video. And over the top of that content, you can add text, you can add some GIFs and icons, and you can tag your connections within that story and they get notified about that. So I wanted to show you what stories look like if you haven't yet seen that in action. So over on the right hand side, we have a screen record, and this is what we can expect from LinkedIn Stories. Okay, so hopefully you can see here the full screen experience. And this is a LinkedIn story of a LinkedIn story. So LinkedIn are obviously one of the first stories that comes up because this is a new feature. They're showing people how to create stories. So it's given us a couple of tips when we come through. But as I bypass that content, I'm now starting to see stories from people that I'm connected to on LinkedIn. So I can see what people are up to, some of the content that they're sharing by way of tips, updates from within their business, content that they're consuming or presenting. So it's very much just a behind the scenes look at what our connections are doing that day or that week. So just like what we see on Facebook and Instagram, it doesn't need to be overly polished and professional. It's really another format for us to use to stay connected with those within our network. So if you have got any questions about LinkedIn stories, articles, creating posts, etc., please do just let us know within the chat box. I will be able to answer all of these questions towards the end in our Q&A. So if there's something you want to learn how to do or you're just curious about, let us know. Okay, one other feature that's really interesting, that's getting a lot of talkability, is LinkedIn live streaming. So again, we've seen this on Instagram, we've seen it on Facebook, it's now available on LinkedIn. But with LinkedIn, it has even more value because you can then live stream your corporate meetings, you can live stream events, you can live stream award ceremonies, etc. So it's really given organizations massive potential when we think of how we maybe would have traveled to a destination for a particular event, be that an internal corporate event or an industry celebration that can now be moved to digital. You can now host this on LinkedIn. Now, with LinkedIn live streaming, we can register for the live stream. So you could obviously complement that with the LinkedIn event itself. And then we can watch it and respond. So we have all of our reactions, you'll notice at the bottom right-hand side of the screen. You have the ability to add a comment, and also you can see how many likes or reactions and comments there have been so far. But the one thing I want to let you know is that live streaming is not yet open to everybody. So LinkedIn Live is something that you have to apply for in order to use it. So according to LinkedIn, there's a review process that will take into account how you use video within your corporate profile, your overall content creation history, the audience size against your corporate profile, the engagement history of that audience. They will look at your member or your page account to make sure it's been in good standing, that you haven't had a lot of reported content or issues there. You need to have two-factor authentication turned on in your account settings, and you will need to use a compatible third-party tool in order to host and run a LinkedIn Live. So I have hyperlinked the details that you'll need to bear in mind. The thing that we can see is that it's not available just to anyone the same way that Facebook Live and Instagram Live is. They're definitely being a lot more cautious about it on LinkedIn. They want to see that people who will be using Live have got a video strategy that they've been following previously, and that they have got a good audience size and engagement history. So unfortunately, it's not something that we can just do with the flick of a button at this moment in time. But it's not to say that it's out of reach. If you have a video strategy and you want to use LinkedIn Live, I would suggest you go forward and apply to be a profile that can do the LinkedIn live streaming, because it's something that not everybody has at this minute in time. Okay, so we've already looked at events. I've shown you that on screen. And what I'm going to do is then now start talking about your company page. So just by way of reminder, if you have any questions, if there's anything you want to know, just type that into the chat box. More than happy to answer that for you towards the end with our Q&A. But hopefully it's given you a good idea of the importance of creating content, a number of ways to create content, how to use LinkedIn events, and also looking at your live streaming. From here, I'm going to now focus on the LinkedIn company page. And as you have seen on my profile, I have access to a number of company pages on LinkedIn. So let's start to talk about that in more detail. So your company page is different to your own account because your company page is that corporate representation. So even though I have my own Emma Gribben LinkedIn profile, which is my personal profile, I have a company page for Alchemy Digital Training and Digital by Emma, as well as working with a number of other organizations on their LinkedIn company page. So we can see that the setup here is slightly different. We have a cover image and a logo, and then we have got the ability to post updates. I think the easiest way for us to see this is by me navigating into the company page itself and talking through some of the functions there. And then as we're going through, feel free to submit any questions that you might have. Okay, so this is what we were looking at just a few moments ago. feel really powerful because it sounds super admin view, but it's just really letting me know that I'm viewing the page as an admin, not just as a member. So if I wanted to see what my followers see, I can click through and view as a member. So this is what people who follow my organization will be able to see for Alchemy digital training. So here we have the opportunity to include a call to action button. We have included contact us. In this instance, it takes us across to the website. So this is where people can go to our website and look at our courses and content. Also under more, you can send a message, or the report abuse function is there. But also here within the corporate page, we have got headings for home, about, posts, jobs, people, insights, and videos. So at a glance, you can see all of the content that a corporate page has posted over the following while, and we have been quite quiet given Easter, etc. But here you can see recent updates, programs, events that are upcoming, for example. And just like the content that we saw in the newsfeed, you can react, comment, share, or send a message about that. So the functionality here is to represent your organization, to share updates. So if you wanted to create a corporate page for your own organization, the easiest way to do that is to go across to the main menu here for work. And from the drop down for work, you will see over on the bottom right-hand side, create a company page. So it is a little bit hidden. It's not the most obvious feature within LinkedIn, but underneath work, and then on the very bottom right-hand side, create a company page. So from here, LinkedIn will take you through the company setup wizard. You have the ability to create a page for a small business, medium to large, showcase, or educational institution. Just to highlight what a showcase page is, a showcase page is a sub-page, and that would be where you connect it to an already existing organization. Where might you use that? Well, let's just say you were a global brand like Google. So Google would have a LinkedIn corporate page, but you might have Google Digital Academy as a showcase page. You might have Google Conversions as a showcase page falling out from underneath that main page. So unless you have a number of sub-brands for your organization, chances are you're just going to set up either a small business or a medium to large business page for your own organization. So it's really straightforward. You will be brought through to fill in all of the info that's needed. So here on the left-hand side, you pop in your page identity. Don't forget to claim your public URL, which should be your brand name. You pop in your website details, and you select from the drop downs for company, industry, size, type. And here you upload your logo and verify that you are able to create the page on behalf of that organization. Okay, so I'm just going to come back into the page itself. It's really similar how we can create content. What I will highlight is that you can run a poll from a corporate page, but not currently from a personal page. So the polls function that I mentioned is most applicable here with company. And also here you can attach a document. So if you have a PDF document or something that you wanted to share with your audience, you can do that. Now, one of the great things that LinkedIn has made available is the ability for people to invite their connections. So notice over here it says invite connections to follow. And what I can do is click in, and I have got 100 credits available, and they refresh every month. So what I can do is go down through my connections and invite people to come across and follow my corporate page. So anyone I'm connected to directly on LinkedIn, I can then invite them to come across and follow my corporate profile. So as you can see, there's 100 credits available. My next refill is on the 30th. So if you wanted to invite people that you're connected with, that's a great idea. The other thing you can do is, of course, to manage admin. So if you wanted to bring a colleague in and invite them to also manage the page, you can do that. So you can add an admin, and then ultimately they can invite their connections to like your corporate page. So back over just to content. From all of the, sorry, I'll navigate home first of all. From all of the posts that you post, you can obviously see the performance of that. So it's telling you how many impressions there have been, what the engagement has been on that. So you get to see what the reach is as a result of that corporate page. And then also in activity is where we have a summary of everything that has happened, quite like the notifications tab. So here we can see if other organizations have mentioned us in a comment or in a post, if they have tagged us in anything. So here we have a post from Gail. She said, thank you for a very informative session. Women in business have mentioned us, for example, and we can react to all of that. So it's a way for us to stay up to date with everything that's happening with the corporate page. And they don't always show up straight away within our notifications. Okay, so that's an overview of the company page. Some of our frequently asked questions. Why should you have a company or a business page? Number one, it makes you look a lot more professional on LinkedIn. Number two, you can tag that within your own profile, so the logo appears whenever you're including your employment history. Number three, it's an area for people to specifically follow your company, to learn more about what your company offers, to stay up to date with the content that you're sharing. What should you post on your company page? There are no limits, really. Anything that is of relevance to your audience, anything that relates to what you're doing as an organization, upcoming events, initiatives, programs, customer feedback, any articles that you've written, anything that you feel is relevant to your organization. How often should you post? So posting on LinkedIn isn't always as time sensitive as Facebook. So whereas we really need to be posting daily or a good few times a week on Facebook, we know that people aren't accessing LinkedIn every single day of their lives. So we could get away with posting a few times per week. So what I would say as a baseline for people getting started with a company page, if you were to post to that once a week and then push 2 times a week, you're going to have your content showing within your newsfeed. Now, remember, the important part is to figure out what your competitors are doing on LinkedIn. So you want to benchmark against them and go one step further, but you are building that company page from scratch. So don't be shy about inviting your connections to like and follow that page, and also sharing the posts yourself so that they will start to come across within your network. Okay, so that's a little bit about company pages, how to set them up, how to create your company page, posting to that, and how frequently you should post. So I'm going to focus more on building your network. So I know we have 35 minutes left, so we're working in good time. That's of course allowing for a Q&A. Now, focusing here on building your network is looking more so at your own personal profile. So we're stepping away from the corporate profile and focusing on our own personal profile for just a little bit. As I mentioned before, all of this is included within the presentation, so feel free to sit back and take that in, or to look at it on your own LinkedIn, on your phone or on a desktop if you're working side by side. But it's important that you are actively building your LinkedIn profile, that you are connecting with others. One of the easiest ways of doing that is to use LinkedIn search. So LinkedIn search helps us to find and connect with lots of people right across the LinkedIn platform. So quite often, if someone emails me that I have never met before, or I come across a connection, I look for them on LinkedIn and I find out who they are, what organization they represent, what they're into, the kind of content that they create. So things that you can do is search for people on LinkedIn. From there, send them connection requests. And it's a really good idea to look at their profile, see what you might have in common with them, and then include that within your send request. So like many of us, I get lots of LinkedIn connection requests every single day. Some are from 5 minutes down the road, some are from the other side of the globe. But I already have quite a big LinkedIn profile, and I do appreciate that the value of my LinkedIn is down to the content that I consume. So I'm not hypersensitive about who I invite into my network, but I do occasional clear outs where if people are posting content that's just not relevant, or they're being overly pushy in terms of sales, they get the boot. So we are becoming a little bit more careful about who we accept on LinkedIn. So if you're connecting with somebody else, I'd recommend that you include a message with your connection request, especially if you've never met that person virtually or in real life, so they can understand why you want to connect with them. And there's a higher chance of them accepting your connection request. So most times people who include a message, I'm like, oh yeah, great, that makes sense. I know why you want to connect with me and I accept. If I'm not so sure or have no idea of the connection, I'm more likely to decline. Okay, so if I was searching for somebody within an organization, let's just take women in business, I can search for that. And in the results, I'm going to get people, organizations, and I'm also going to get posts from that as well. So I can see here, if I search women in business, Roseanne Kelly, the CEO comes up, the corporate organization comes up, but also Belinda, who is a mentor, comes up. So it's not always people who are currently employed with that organization that will appear within the search. It's anyone that has a relevancy to that particular search term. So how can you show up against more searches? That's down to the content within your profile. So LinkedIn has actually provided me with one of the biggest opportunities in my career. And at the time, we did not even know it was happening. So about 4 years ago, I was doing a lot of LinkedIn training, delivering training like what I'm doing today. And I was talking about the importance of optimizing your LinkedIn profile, having a relevant LinkedIn profile picture, background picture, and also having keywords within your profile based on what you do and keywords that you'd like people to use to find you. For me, an obvious keyword is digital marketing. Another one might be social media. Another one could be digital training. So they're keywords that I've dispersed, not only in my title, but throughout my overview and my job experience descriptions. So as I mentioned, unbeknownst to me, there was a team from Avado, and Avado organise and run lots of different training programs on behalf of global tech companies and well-known brands. And there was a recruitment manager at Avado who was searching for mobile marketing specialists and mobile marketing digital marketers, mobile marketing trainers. Luckily for me, I had just delivered a program in mobile marketing, creating content from your mobile phone, managing your business from your mobile device, and I had lots of relevant content on my profile. So out of the blue, this connection request came through, which said, "Hi Emma, I've spotted your profile. I'm really interested to speak to you about a new training opportunity. Are you interested in hearing more?" So straight away, I clicked through. I looked at the connections profile. I looked at their website. Lo and behold, there was Dell, Microsoft, Google, IBM. And I thought, oh my goodness, this is too good to be true. So within about 0.5 seconds, I replied to say, yeah, absolutely. When would it suit to have a conversation? When would it suit to chat? And then the very next day, I was on I don't think it was Zoom at that stage. It was probably Google Hangout call or Skype. What happened to Skype, by the way? It just disappeared into the ether. Call with the recruitment manager. And she was telling me that Google wanted to recruit trainers who had already worked within mobile marketing, who were already working within the digital marketing industry to deliver a new program. So I didn't even know the program existed, but I asked her, how did you find me? How did you come across my profile? And she said, I did a LinkedIn search. And here's the keywords that I have used in order to find you. So you just never know who's looking for people with your skills and people who provide the services that you provide, people who do what you do on LinkedIn. And it's not just for that very service-led industry. I have a client who sells high volume of art through LinkedIn. I have people who provide creative services through LinkedIn as well. So LinkedIn is really becoming our portal to find people, to find organizations, to provide services and products that we're looking for. So you never know who would be searching, but the important thing is making sure that you've got that content within your profile. And that's what I'm going to talk to you about now for a couple of minutes, where you can put that content, how to put that content in your profile. Okay, so that brings us nicely onto profile optimization. So when we're looking at our profile, there's lots of content we can fill in. I'd encourage everyone just to optimize as much as possible. LinkedIn's very good at encouraging us to do this. So here it says add profile section. If there's something you haven't yet filled in, it will prompt you to do that, and it will show you how you're progressing through all of the content fields. Okay, so why should we optimize? What's the benefit? Optimized profiles will rank much higher within LinkedIn searches. Keyword optimized profiles will be found easier. Remember that your LinkedIn profile is available within Google search. So if someone searches not even on LinkedIn, but on Google, your profile could come up. You want to make sure that you are representing yourself in a professional manner. So having a frequently updated and fully updated profile is a good thing. And you're more likely to receive opportunities through LinkedIn if it looks like you're actively using it and that you have got recent experience and posts. Okay, so where do we start with? Here is your starting point, your profile checklist. So by way of an update, have an updated image. So that photograph from a friend's wedding 10 years ago where you look great, but you don't look like that anymore, unfortunately, it's time to scrap that. We can get some really fantastic photography with our smartphones against a clear background or a virtual backdrop, if you haven't been able to do the corporate headshot. But I would encourage you to have a photo that's probably 2 to 3 years old max, so people can actually identify with you if they see in real life, which I know isn't common these days, but hopefully that will improve. Also a cover image, that's your background image, and then your title. Your title is what will show up when people tag you or see your post appearing within their newsfeed. Then include suitable details around your past and present roles. This is your opportunity to include keywords. If it's relevant, include a direct line phone number in your business name so people can quite literally lift the phone and ring you from LinkedIn. I haven't done that, but I have included it in my overview along with my email address and my website URL. And then if you've worked hard in your industry to get those qualification letters to show you are experienced and qualified in what you do, now's not the time for modesty. Pop them in there as well. Professional image, it is actually important on LinkedIn. It can generate 14 times more profile views, and it also builds trust. And of course, your business and maybe social connections, depending on how you're currently using LinkedIn, will therefore recognize you. So it's really simple to upload a photograph. If you have one from your device, just upload it, reposition it within the circle, and that's the content that people will see on your profile. So if you are creating a presence for LinkedIn for your organization, this is something you could try. So the Smart Group have added these beautiful colored backgrounds, and they've provided these images to everyone within their organization that's using LinkedIn. So it's a really creative way of getting that attention grabbing content, but it's something that's a good idea to do across the entire organization. So if you are the one overseeing your LinkedIn strategy, think about those backgrounds that you can now use to get attention and also to showcase your brand. Okay, so you can add a background photograph or a cover photograph to your LinkedIn profile. It has to be JPEG, PNG, or GIF file under 8 MB in size. Here's the resolution details, so you can design something on Canva later that will suit. But your background photograph just provides a little bit more context to the work that you do. To be honest, I don't have a personalized one. That's one I got from Unsplash. You can do the same, of course, and you're able to update that through the pen icon on your profile. This pen icon is where you can update lots of different elements of your profile. It's your main editing tool. So when you press that pen icon, you can, of course, update your background, but you can update your details, your headline, your current position, your education, and then all of your contact info. So another thing that's a really good idea, particularly for business cards, is to customize your public profile URL. And this is where you can have a dedicated URL for LinkedIn without a lot of numbers at the end. So as you can see, mine is linkedin.com/in/Emma Gribben. So I was able to create that in LinkedIn. I can use that on my business card. When I'm actually looking at my profile, that comes up in the top right-hand corner, edit public profile and URL. And then from there, I can press the edit button, claim my name. The only thing is you have to be in there before anyone else of the same name. So if you haven't done it, click in and do that already. Okay, it's important you have your contact info, website, telephone number, email, Twitter handle if it's relevant. You can do that under See Contact Info. Once I click on that, I can control all of my contact formats with the little pencil or pen icon. And also I've included that within my summary. So I want it to be really, really easy for people to find me. So what I have done is I've tried to create a lot of keyword optimized content and put all of that throughout my profile in my title, current experience, previous experiences, summary, work experience, skill endorsement, for example. So this is where you can add the keywords that you want to really get noticed for. The other thing is showing examples of your work. So if someone's searching for a specialist or consultant or creative, chances are they're going to look at your profile alongside many others and you want yours to stand out. So what you can do is show examples of your work. That would be videos, images, documents, links, etc. How you can do that is underneath a particular position. You can add a number of links. So here I have 2 links to websites, although you can just upload a photograph or a video if you choose to do that. And we quite simply go in and edit that experience in order to add the media. Okay, so when I'm in editing my experience at the bottom, it will say media, upload or link. And that's where I can upload an image, a video, or link out to any third-party site. Okay, so with your current roles, it's important that you have as much information as possible. But quite often I get asked, how much info do I need to share about the roles I've had in the past? I'm obviously not there anymore. Like, how important is that? What I would say is the more content you have on LinkedIn, the better. There's more info for people to find you. There's more keyword rich content there for LinkedIn search and Google search to use. So here's a little summary of things I think that you should have included for your role, current and past. So it is pretty obvious: your title, your responsibilities, examples of day-to-day activities, the size of the team you managed, if any, opportunities you are or were looking into, projects completed, and then contact methods. Now, it goes without saying you wouldn't be including that for previous roles, but more so for your current role. When it comes to education, something similar. It's up to you how far back you want to go, but it's helpful to include high school or college experience, any university experience, postgraduate, on the job, voluntary, or even industry accreditations. If you have a project that you really want people to see or find out about or to acknowledge, you can create that as a LinkedIn project. So this is like a standalone piece of content on your LinkedIn profile. Here you'll need to include the title, the context, any KPIs, your role, the size of the project team, how long it took, what you did to add value, and then the results of that project. Of course, you can add honours and awards as well. And again, it's just a chance to showcase all of your achievements. So here, for example, I can see by way of summary any honours or awards. So this is, for example, Dana Awards, Business First, or Come Spiders, Dana Awards again. So anyone that's really interested in saying how I've done my career and how I have had my efforts rewarded or acknowledged, it's a very easy way for them to see that. Skills are another important element on LinkedIn. So you can add your skills, and then LinkedIn will ask people within your network, do they endorse you for that skill? So I can see that I've been endorsed for social media marketing 52 times, digital marketing 48 times, marketing in general 41. And then also we have a range of skills down here. And these are also treated as keywords. So if people were searching, for example, marketing communications Belfast, because I have that as a skill, there's a chance that my profile will come up within the search results. Recommendations are really, really powerful in real life, as we know, within that corporate environment and also on LinkedIn. So what I would suggest is once you connect with customers or your colleagues, and when you're confident that they're going to give you a positive review, it's good to reach out and ask them to review your work, your organization, your project, material, or brand, if appropriate. Now, the good news is that it's really easy to do that. You can navigate to the recommendations section on your profile. And once you're logged in as yourself, there's this big ask for a recommendation button. And once you click on that, you can then go through and choose who you would like to invite to recommend you. And also you choose what your partnership was. So were they a client of yours or were you a client of theirs, etc. And also you have to choose from which role this recommendation was appropriate. I have been really lucky to receive 11 recommendations and I've given 5. So I really should be paying it forward and given many more recommendations. Some of them came because I asked for a recommendation and lots came just voluntarily. So the thing is that if someone's really impressed by what you've delivered, they can just go to your profile and leave you a recommendation for that as well. But it helps if you can cultivate a few just to get the ball rolling. Okay, so before I move on to LinkedIn privacy, I just want to show you some of those features on the actual LinkedIn platform itself. So just like what I've done before, I'm going to come across to the platform and show you that in real life. So if I click into my profile here, see my profile picture and then my cover image that I've mentioned, title comes up. This is the about section. So anywhere you see the pen icon, it's really easy to edit. And because I'm logged into my profile, I get to see my private dashboard. So I can see how many people have viewed my profile, how my content has performed, and how many times I've appeared within search. So that's an indication of how visible I am on LinkedIn. Recent activities, I should say, are summarized here. So anything I've interacted with and posted about. And then we move down to experience. So here is where we can add contact details. Here we can add more details about what is on offer, and we've just separated these out with some keyboard functions. I have included examples of work. So for this particular experience, I have hyperlinked out to a website about this project, and similarly for these two as well. So people who might not be familiar with that can click on the links and understand more about the project that I'm involved in. The same for Intertrade Ireland. So that's all really easy to set up through the edit function. Education, as we've mentioned, any relevant volunteering experience, even though that was quite a while ago, I would still get people connecting with me because they met me then or they've also volunteered for that organisation. Skills and endorsements come next. Then we have recommendations. Accomplishments, which is the projects, honours and awards, courses, organisations and language that we've mentioned. And then interests underneath that, so people can see any of the organisations that I'm interested in or follow. So as you'll notice, I have got the all-star recognition there because I've gone through and filled in all of that information. Obviously, if I'm training on LinkedIn, I need to be able to show you guys where that's at. But LinkedIn will keep you right and remind you about any profile sections that you haven't yet completed or anything that needs looked at. Okay, so some of the things that are really important when we're focusing on LinkedIn is the privacy. So you might want to control what people can see on your profile or control, what is available publicly. And the good news is that we have got the ability to control who sees what, and that's within the settings. So starting point, one of the first things you can control is whether or not you give away other people who may be competitors to you. What do I mean by that? Well, when I look at Lindsay, Lindsay is a digital marketing transformation consultant. She's also one of the Google trainers that I work with. But on Lindsay's profile over here on the right-hand side, it's telling me similar people or people who have also been viewed in association with Lindsay. So the chances are that a couple of Lindsay's competitors are going to show up here. So Dahlia is a social media and marketing consultant, which is very similar to what Lindsay does. Lewis is a marketing manager. So is Ashley. What else have we got? Jess is a journalist, for example. So quite often we're going to find very similar people here. And the good news is that you've got the ability to turn off this panel if you so wish, so that does not show up. So what we can do is turn off this panel within settings. So if you want to control this or any other privacy functions, go up to the very, very top of your LinkedIn profile. Underneath me, click on that and the drop-down menu will appear. And the first option under your account should be settings and privacy. Within settings and privacy, you have the ability to turn off viewers of this profile also viewed. So for mine, I have that turned off. You won't see that on my profile, because if someone has searched and found me, I don't want them to then easily see my competitors or others in my industry. But it's not the most important thing. It is really important for recruitment, for example, or for lead generation, because obviously then people have spent a lot of time to try and build up their connections. So if you want to turn that off, you absolutely can do. Also, within here, you can control who can see your email address, who can view your connections, who can see your last name, and your profile visibility off LinkedIn. So all of this is possible from within the privacy section. Okay, so if you want to control who can see your connections, you have got a number of options from the drop-down list. So it's up to you to choose what level of visibility there is there. The other thing as well is profile viewing options. So if I were to go onto your profile and have a look, you get notified. You would see that I had viewed your profile unless I change my settings. I can privatize that. So I could just change it to private profile characteristics. So instead of saying I'm Gribben, viewed your profile, it would say advertising specialist in the marketing and advertising industry from Belfast, United Kingdom. But in return, I don't get the visibility about the people who view my profile. So it does definitely work both ways. So it depends what the purpose is of you using LinkedIn. For me, I'm not doing any snooping or searching here that I wouldn't want people to see. So I'm happy to have that turned on. And then in return, I can see who's viewed my profile, and I can see their roles, etc., unless they have that turned off. You can, of course, go into fully private mode, and that's where you just come up as an anonymous LinkedIn member. And the same thing works the other way. They won't get to see who's viewed their profile in return. Okay, you might decide after today you're going to make some changes to your LinkedIn profile. It's time to update your overview, your experience. You're going to add projects, etc. But you might not want your entire network notified of every single change you make. The good news is you can turn that off. So within the privacy settings, you have got sharing profile edits, and you can turn this on or off. So if you're making lots of changes at once, you might decide to turn this off so people won't be notified every time you edit your profile. So when you have the bulk of the updates done, you can then go back and turn it on, and anything that you add from there on in, like a new role or an anniversary, will then be highlighted. We're now starting to see that underneath each of the experience updates. So if you were to go and update your experience in your current role, or to add a new experience at the bottom, it says, would you like to share this with your network? And you can choose whether to turn that on or off. Okay, so one other thing I want to highlight is you get to control what people can see or what they can view about your profile. So when you're actually in your profile, on the right-hand side, you should have the ability to control the visibility for headline, website, post activity, summary, current experience, past experience, etc. So therefore, you're in control as to what people can see from your own LinkedIn profile. Okay, so the other thing that you can do is create a public profile badge if you so wish. And this is where you can promote your profile by adding a badge to your blog, your online resume, or your website. And this is just really a little bit of code that can then allow people to click through to your LinkedIn with ease. So let's just say you had a blog that you wanted to connect with LinkedIn. You could include this badge, and that would take people straight to your LinkedIn profile. This is what your badge would look like. You've got 3 different options. You can also change the size of that. And if you wanted to paste this badge within a web page or a blog article, you can simply copy the code, and then this element is clickable and it will take them to your LinkedIn profile. Okay, so hopefully that gives you a better idea of what you can control on LinkedIn in terms of privacy. Remember, that's all available within your settings. If you've got questions about privacy, if there's anything that you want to know, please do submit your questions within the chat. I can see there are a few questions that have come through already, and we have got time for a Q&A at the very end to address those. So we're moving through the content at pace. It's coming up to 5 to 8. All that I want to share with you remaining would be LinkedIn groups and also the premium packages that are available. Let's start off with LinkedIn groups. We're going to talk about how they work and the value in LinkedIn groups and how you can set up one yourself if you would like to have that feature. So LinkedIn is a really great way, LinkedIn groups are a really great way of connecting with similar and like-minded people. I'm a big advocate for joining relevant business groups because it allows us to network, it allows us to build connections, to increase brand awareness, and let others know about who you are and what you do. So LinkedIn groups is a really good opportunity for you to build out your network. Gives you the chance to talk about your organization. It gives you the chance to get involved with discussions, share articles that you've written, or share blog posts back to your own website. It creates that visibility for your business. So you could be, for example, launching a new organization and then joining relevant business groups to educate people about that. But the other great thing is that you can easily connect with group members. So even if you don't have connections in common, the very fact that you're part of a group will allow you to add them directly as a LinkedIn connection. So I'm going to jump across onto the LinkedIn profile and share more with you about LinkedIn groups. So I'm just going to move our little bar out of the way so hopefully we can see that easier. So once I go to my network is obviously where I see any connection requests that I have. But over on the left-hand side, I can see all of the groups that I'm currently part of. So over here, I can easily navigate through to my Digital Marketing Institute group, my Northern Ireland Business group, what else have we got? Northern Ireland Business Networking group, etc. So if I wanted to go into here and see what the conversation is or what the content is, I can easily navigate in here. I see the most recent posts and I can also start a conversation within that group. So by default, they're set up in a very similar vein to the newsfeed, which is something we're familiar with. And we can create a conversation by clicking in, adding our text, adding a photograph, a video, a document, or tagging others or other organizations. Okay, so that's fairly straightforward. If I wanted to bring people into the group, so if I think that a colleague or a connection is really going to benefit, I can go through and invite my connections to this group. So if I felt that Neve would really benefit from it, who else might I choose? I might bring in Paul, for example. I can then invite them to join the group and send them that invitation. If I want to create my own group, I can also do that from within the groups section. So over here under groups, you might notice on the top right-hand corner is the create group functionality. So it's not dissimilar to what we looked at for creating an event. We add our cover photograph, profile photograph, name, description, industry, location, any group rules, and we've got 4,000 characters for that, so he can be quite descriptive. And then we can have our group as listed, which means that it's visible, or unlisted, which would mean that it has more privacy. And once we fill that in, we can go ahead and create that group and therefore have that space for people to connect on LinkedIn. So one of the interesting things is that throughout my newsfeed, I am also presented with content from groups that I'm a part of if there are recent posts within that group. I'm just going to take a quick scoot down through the newsfeed to see if that is the case at the minute. I think because of Easter, quite a lot of groups have been quiet, so there's nothing necessarily showing up here from groups at this moment in time. That's an ad opposed to the Digital Marketing Institute group. Okay. Also here from the main newsfeed, I can navigate quite quickly into my groups. You'll notice on the left-hand side, there's also the groups function. So I can go in there, as well as going through my network, for example. That's quite a habit I've had going through my network, but it's even easier to access from here. So I think you'll agree that it's fairly straightforward to create a group. It's not too difficult. It's really just a matter of keeping that conversation going and giving people some great value of being part of that group, the same way you would do if you had a Facebook group, for example. Okay, so that's an overview of groups, and it brings us to the last area, which is LinkedIn Premium. I often get asked, should I pay for LinkedIn? Is it okay to use the free version? With the paid for version, you get to see who has viewed your profile over the last 90 days. So you get that full visibility of your audience. So if you are actively growing your business, if you're growing your network, if you are investing in lead generation, it's going to be really helpful to see who has viewed your profile. You can see what impact you have created. So for me, that's something that I've paid for. It's really helpful to see who's viewed my profile, and I notice that there's a correlation. Once they view my profile, typically within 24 to 48 hours, I get a LinkedIn message, a connection request, or an email to then ask about a project or a potential piece of work. If you have the free version, the unpaid for version, you can only see the last 5 people who viewed your profile. So there's a lot less visibility there. However, there are more functions if you have a paid for version. You can see, for example, keywords that people use to find you, as well as how they actually got to your profile. Now, when it comes to paid for versions, you have a number of options. You've got LinkedIn Premium Career, and that is $24.98 per month. That's your cheapest option. You've got Premium Business, and that's $39.99 per month. You've got Sales Navigator, that's more expensive at $49.99 per month. And then you have Recruiter Lite at $79.99 per month. Now, if I go back to the very first option, Premium Career is more so focused on being a featured applicant and reaching out to recruiters. So the whole idea is that you can get yourself in front of organizations that are recruiting. However, you still get the insights about who's viewed your profile. Also, you have access to the online video courses, etc. So this is the option I normally go with because it's cheapest and it gives me that functionality to see who's viewed my profile, and that's one of the benefits that I want. So even though I'm not looking for a new career, the functionality of this meets my needs. However, if you wanted to actually reach out to people through the likes of email messages, and you also wanted business insights, so deeper insights into a company's growth and functional trends, then you might want to upgrade to Premium Business, and that's the $39.99. You still get the feature on who's viewed your profile. You've unlimited people browsing, which means you can search for as many people as you want within LinkedIn. However, I have to admit, with the previous version, I've never reached my limit on searches. Sales Navigator is then more so focused on a business development manager or someone that is trying to build a lot of leads for an organization. With this package, you have 20 email messages every single month. You get sales insights, you get advanced search. You also have the who's viewed your profile and unlimited browsing, but you can save your leads within a central location. So therefore you have got a record of who you've actually reached out to and who you've connected with. And then Recruiter Lite is set up for recruiters. And this is where you've got 30 email messages, advanced search, smart suggestions to help you with recruitment, integrated hiring, you've advertising options built into that, candidate tracking and recruiting specific design. So that's where you can create your own job pages and your own job listings, etc. So these are the options that are available. You can choose from any of these based on what your needs are. However, I'm just going to give you a little sneak preview into the premium package that I use. So I'm just going here into my premium section. So here it says I'm a premium member, have been since February 2021. So I was premium for a long time. I actually wasn't investing a lot in LinkedIn over, let's say, October, November, December, January, because it was so crazy busy and I thought I don't need these insights. I turned premium off, but reactivated at the start of the year because nosiness got the better of me. So here for my premium dashboard, I can see who's viewed my profile. So here I can view all 543 profile views within the last 90 days. So we'll go in here and have a little look. It also gives me a summary of how visible I've been over the past couple of weeks and months. This person here, for example, has got some privacy applied to their searches. So it's not actually giving me their name, but I can see that they find me directly via LinkedIn search. So they will have searched for me either by name or by keyword or by role. Simon, for example, I'm directly connected with Simon. So I am sending him messages through LinkedIn. We're talking about client accounts there, for example, and he's just found me via my LinkedIn profile. So I can see how he came across. Nassim, for example, found me via the homepage. So he's seen content there and he's seen my profile and then come across to my profile from that. Cassie has found me via my network. So she's obviously gone into her network and looked to see who's part of that, click through to my profile from there. So the good thing is that it gives you an idea of how people are finding you. It gives you an idea of who's looking at your profile. So if you wanted to connect with someone that had looked at your profile, so I don't know John personally, so if John's on the call or you do know John, hi to John, I can see that 6 days ago John had a look at my profile. I don't know John, but if I did want to connect, I can quite easily send him a connection request. And I do know that we have some connections in common. Okay, so that's one of the main features of Premium. Other things, I have got 15 in-mail messages that I can use. I've got 5 more credits on the, that should be May. I'm getting more credits. I don't typically use that, so it's not one of the key features for me of Premium. Because I'm using the Premium Career, I am able to get things like job insights and so on, but they're not really why I have used the Premium functionality. It's more around visibility. But here it's just showing all of the functions that are available for Premium. I have, of course, the learning section. So if I wanted to access the LinkedIn Learning, I have the ability to access courses. And that's a key benefit as well, because it's important that we're always building on our skills. So here I can go through and access that entire area or that entire platform as part of my Premium subscription. So here I can manage my subscription. I can cancel that at any time or upgrade if I want new features. But personally for me, the career just gives me the visibility that I need, and it's one of the cheaper options. So you can be, shall we say, a bit of cheapskate like myself and go with the cheapest one just to get me the info that I need. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is just come across to the questions section here. So I have reached the end of the presentation that I want to share with you guys. Remember, you do get a copy of that. So it's your chance to submit your questions and your queries. Anything that you want to know, please go ahead and ask. I can see there's some coming through. I'm going to let Esther take the lead, and you can be the compere and start off with the easy questions.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay, perfect. So the first question I see, should one worry for the number of followers? If so, what's the best strategy?
Okay, so in terms of followers, I'm just going to assume that you mean on the corporate profile instead of your own personal profile. That is a question we get asked a lot for organizations, and you're building it from scratch. So it is going to take a little bit of time to get built up. But for your corporate profile, remember, you can invite all of your connections, and I would encourage you to do that as the starting point. The other thing you can do is just create frequent content and share that, and create content that will get reactions and comments and shares. So it is about investing in your content to get your corporate profile up and running. It's not something I would be obsessed about. It's not something that I would worry about. It takes time to build up, but there are ways of actually building that over time and growing your audience.
Perfect. So the next question is, should the goal of networking be to spread as much awareness of your business as possible, or more targeting certain markets?
John, that does come down to your organization and your organizational goals. So if you were using LinkedIn as part of your lead generation strategy for your organization, then you absolutely would want to be creating content within industry groups, or indeed creating industry groups yourself. But I think that it is important that you're investing in creating content, that your network can see that, Like I've used LinkedIn quite a lot recently to ask for recommendations, and that has been recommendations on website development companies, recommendations for graphic designers. And some of the most unusual people have come back and commented on that, not people I initially would have asked, but I've been able to like crowdsource suggestions. So that is ultimately a good thing. And you never know who's seeing your content or where that opportunity might arise. So I think that when it comes to LinkedIn, awareness needs to be a key element of it, but it depends how you're using LinkedIn within your overall sales and marketing strategy. There's lots of ways you can strategically search for people that you want to get in front of. There's lots of ways you can strategically get in front of people who are already interested in a particular topic or an industry through a group. So I don't think it has to be like one or the other. Awareness is fantastic, and then you can have your strategic activities over the top of that.
Perfect. So the next question is, are all these options available if you have the basic LinkedIn profile, or do you need a professional or business subscription?
So the likes of the profile updates, your corporate page, etc., that's all available for free. The real benefits of the business subscription or the premium is the profile visibility. So as you saw there just towards the end, if you pay for a subscription, you can see who has viewed your profile. You can also get more insights about how your profile is performing against others. But the content that we looked at earlier on within the presentation, that's all available for free. You don't need to have a paid for subscription to access that.
Perfect. In terms of badges, I've seen people using a badge over their profile photo saying open for work or similar. What are your thoughts on this? Is it a good thing, or does it make you look a bit desperate?
Times have certainly changed, Corey. I mean, we faced a lot of new challenges throughout the coronavirus pandemic. I think it depends how you do that. I don't think that using an open for work badge looks desperate, because LinkedIn is a hub for networking, collaboration, for growing your connections, etc. I think if you were to post frequently saying, I desperately need a job, help, that could look a bit desperate. But I've seen lots of posts recently where people have just said, look, I've been in an industry, or I've been with this company for nearly 20 years. The pandemic has changed the conditions, and I find myself unemployed. Here's what I'm really good at. So if you know of someone that needs these skills, feel free to connect me. And they've had phenomenal results. They've had people from right across the world connecting them with their friends or colleagues. And then a few days later, I've seen post edit, I'm now employed with this organization. I start Monday. So I think it's something that you can do in a really tasteful way. I don't think it looks desperate to use the badge. It's really just about putting your profile out there and saying, here's what I'm interested in. Here's the opportunities that I'm working for, or that I'm looking for. And remember, your network should really be built of people who are going to support you, who are some of your biggest supporters, collaborators, etc. And so on the most, that should get a positive reaction.
Perfect. The next question was for me. How long can videos be on LinkedIn?
Oh, good question. I've actually forgotten the exact detail, because I'm normally trading on like Facebook videos and Instagram videos and LinkedIn videos. So I'm going to be honest, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I will find out and include that link within the presentation deck, because within the LinkedIn business section, it does tell us, but I have drawn a blank. So I don't know right now, but I will make sure I share the answer with you guys.
No problem. Thank you. What is the ideal number of hashtags to use in a LinkedIn when posting content?
So the good news is that you don't necessarily have like a limit or anything with hashtags, but typically about 4 to 5 is quite good. If you go to town and use like 15, it can look a little bit overwhelming, and it does have that spammy look about it. So typically I would include 3, 4, or 5 hashtags that are relevant. Now, the other thing about hashtags that I didn't mention that I can share with you guys now is that if you include a hashtag in your post, it increases the likelihood of your post showing up within news feeds against that hashtag. So what do I mean by that? I'm going to look and see if we have an example within the news feed, and if not, I can just go in and show you this. Insert, sorry if I'm making anyone dizzy. It's not coming up within the news feed, but I follow the hashtag digital marketing, and occasionally I will see a post that appears in my newsfeed, and I'm seeing it because it has this hashtag in it. So it says, because you follow digital marketing, we're showing you this post. So Marcus, I'm not connected with Marcus. He's a second degree connection. This was posted 54 minutes ago, so while we've been on the webinar, but somewhere within here, Marcus must use the hashtag digital marketing. Yep, he does there. So I can see this post because I'm following digital marketing, and Marcus has used that hashtag recently. So now that content's being presented to me, I have no previous experience with Marcus. I don't know what he does or what his content is about, but I'm now seeing it in front of me. So I am getting a chance to interact with that. So hashtags not only help us to group content together, they also can bring your content in front of people who are already interested in that kind of content. Now he's used 4, so that kind of proves the point that I had just mentioned. Let's see what the next one is using. 3. Okay, that's thereabouts. So 3 doesn't look overwhelming. That looks kind of good. So I think 3, 4, 5 hashtags work really well. It's not spammy looking, and you have a number of keywords there that will help you within your journey.
Perfect. And then the last question we have here is there a guide to be followed for content creation, use of hashtags? You kind of covered that in the last question there.
There's not a guide as such, but what I would say is that I would sounds a little bit weird, but I mean, follow people within the industry that you feel are really good content creators, or those who you respect. So in terms of digital marketing, there's some really, really talented digital marketers that I would follow on lots of different platforms, LinkedIn being one, and I would see and watch what they're doing. So people who are naturally innovative use the latest features. So I see them using LinkedIn events, I see them using live streaming, etc. And that's my inspiration. Is there a content creation guide? There's lots of third-party documents and presentations and webinars on how to create content for LinkedIn. But what it will do is present to you content ideas like questions, polls, a day in the life of, interesting facts on this day. What else might we have? New products and services. So the content that you're creating for LinkedIn isn't really distinctively different from the content that you're creating for the likes of Facebook or Instagram. You just might purpose it slightly differently. Instagram, as you know, is all about the image, so that will be front and center. But typically when I'm working with an organization, we sit down and consider what the social media content will be, and then we just personalize that for each channel. So we use a really strong image for Instagram. We include our hashtags on LinkedIn. We maybe just change the message slightly so it's relevant to that audience, etc. But Hootsuite is a really great resource, and HubSpot as well, if you wanted some more information on content creation for social media in general or for LinkedIn.
Brilliant. So that is all of our questions. So thank you so much, Emma, for everything. It just seen in the chat, I'm sure you can see it as well. Like, everyone really enjoyed it and it was very informative. So thank you very much. And we will be sending everyone Emma's presentation via email. And then we have next week's workshop with you again, a DIY guide on social media and advertising. So we're excited for that as well.
Thank you so much, and thank you obviously to Esther and Christine and the team at Women Folk for giving me the opportunity to present to you this evening. It's been really enjoyable. I hope you've got at least one new thing from this. As I mentioned, the resources, the presentation will be available. If you have any questions in the meantime, reach out to me on LinkedIn. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, add a message so I know that you've joined into the webinar. And if there's anything I can answer there, do let me know. But otherwise, I really look forward to seeing you next week where we're talking about social media advertising. So thanks, and have a great week in the meantime.